Aw, yeah! Welcome back to another episode of the Vactor-Verse. This is the Ahsoka Files. What were we calling it? The Ahsoka.
Ahsoka Abridged.
Yes, Ahsoka Abridged. That's right. Can't even remember the name of my own series, but I can remember the name of my co-host for this series, Shaw. How you doing today, Shaw?
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing so good. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this sexy shirt I'm wearing right now. We
Nice.
got sexy Thrawn. He's got he looks awesome. Shout
He's
out
like,
to Vactor. Vactor treated me with this awesome gift, and I just had to wear it because Thrawn's coming. Thrawn is coming soon. And
I can't wait. I
cannot wait.
I really hope this series has a nice build up. But this episode that we're going to be talking about this week is part 4, Fallen Jedi. So if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, we're going to be spoiling all of this episode. And there are some spoilers here. So definitely do not listen to this until you've seen part 4 of Ahsoka. And I think it's safe to say, Shoff, in my eyes, this was my favorite episode of the series so far.
Not only my favorite episode of the series, but one of my favorite episodes of the Filoni like TV verse.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like
Right.
all of the stuff he's done with Mando and Book of Boba Fett and all, like just everything that he's had his hands in. This feels like this is the quintessential like best of Star Wars combined from start to finish. The pacing, everything was so great. Man, there's so much good stuff to talk about in this episode, but I loved episode 4.
Nice. I cannot wait to talk about it. So we have been speculating the last couple episodes about a bunch of things. We actually got at least one answer in this episode. The answer of who is Marrok? Shaw?
Yep. So Marrok, a lot of theories were out there. Could it be Ezra? Could it be a dark version of Ezra? Could it be Star Killer? People thought it could be a clone of Anakin Skywalker. I mean, there were some crazy theories out there. Some people were like, maybe he's just Marrok. Maybe Marrok is just Marrok, or maybe Marrok is Barriss Offee, right? Like, there was a bunch of theories out there. As it turns out, Marrok is a smelly fart. he's just a smelly fart. That's all it was. Just you kill him and then just like comes out of his suit and he just disappears into a green gas cloud.
Yes. And I feel like the Filoni and the showrunners, everybody who is involved behind the scenes, it didn't seem like at least the way the show is structured, that they thought anybody would care about Marrok. They weren't building up the mystery. We were the ones building it up, us as the fans. We were all like, Marrok, who is Marrok? And I think Filoni was like, I don't care about Marrok. And you're not supposed to care about Marrok because he's just a green cloud of gas.
Well, but I mean, don't you think at this point, recognizing how much theory culture sort of has its grips on various fandoms, that when they're crafting these stories, that they know that they're going to be things that breadcrumbs that people are going to latch on to and create these outlandish theories, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I do love a good theory, but when it's grounded in some like substance of fact.
Right.
I hate like the TikTok accounts that are out there where it's just, hey, have you heard this theory? And it's like the most crazy thing that there's no possible chance of it being real. I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here with that garbage. Like
I used to go down those rabbit holes. Now I don't. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is a waste of my time.
Exactly. Disney Marvel has taught us that, it's fun to go down those rabbit holes, but oftentimes it never goes down that way.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, like, obviously Dave Filoni is a huge fan. So like he wouldn't, what he chooses to do, he does so as a fan, but also as someone who's steering the ship towards what he thinks like is in the best interest of Star Wars. So like, I feel very confident in whatever he does, that he's going to be leading that ship in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's what I think we've been saying on the previous episodes. If you haven't listened, go back and watch our previous Ahsoka Abridged episodes. But I think the sentiment so far has been too long didn't read or didn't watch, the sentiment has been we have our hopes up for Filoni that he's going to stick the landing for this show, because the first couple episodes they've been a lot of setup, a lot of walking around
Yeah.
and talking and setting up. Nope, there's the map to go over there. Thrawn's over there. Ezra's over there. We're going to go over there. This episode, we actually saw they're going there. We saw them going there.
Yeah, they
And
didn't. I'm glad they didn't save that for episode 5. That
yes,
actual hyperdrive thing did not take place in the
yes,
next episode. That was great.
yeah. So I like that we're starting to see some payoff of some of this stuff. We're finally getting instead, and I think that's why this show is going to be good as a binge. If somebody is watching this when
Yeah,
all 8 episodes are out, I think it's going to flow. You know, I don't think the pacing problems people are going to have once they're binging it week to week. They have a microscope on. Oh man, this is
true.
slow and this is this. But
Especially since
yeah,
they have to wait a week between
right.
those sort of episodes that are they're not very long. Like from a binge
Hmm.
perspective, this would be very comfortable to do because the episodes are 30-40 minutes. It's like
Right,
very,
right.
very manageable with that. So
Yeah.
totally. And the pacing with this episode, it's amazing. Like from the very beginning onward, everything had purpose. That there was not a moment that was wasted. Everything was very tightly packed and purposeful. And I love when a script is done that way. So
Right.
kudos to the writing
Yeah.
and that regard.
And the director of this episode, I think we talked about it on the last one. I'm doing multiple Ahsoka wrap ups, so I'm getting mixed up in my own head of timeline. But I think we talked about last week Peter Ramsey was going to be directing this episode, who Peter Ramsey was credited as one of the directors on Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
And
okay.
he also directed a Mando episode earlier this last season. But I think he did a great job. This is Filoni's writing the entire thing, so I'm glad that he's crafting it. It's not like, okay, he's only writing one episode or somebody else is coming in. This is all Filoni's vision, from start to finish. So I'm very confident in where the story is heading.
Yeah.
Just how do we get there and how do the payoff? But this episode, Fallen Jedi, the name of this episode, I think at this point is going to tie into the very last shot of the episode. So we'll get into that uh,
Yeah.
near
They're
the
very
end.
clever
But
with their titles because because it reflects back on Baylan Skoll being a fallen Jedi. We don't know very much about Shin Hati, but
yeah,
and she's certainly too young to have been part of the Order at the time. So she was an apprentice trained after the fact. So she's less of a
right.
fallen Jedi because she wasn't part of the Order to begin with. But you have Baylan, and that would have been enough. But then that reveal at the end, yeah, totally.
I mean, you could even put Ahsoka in that category. Now she
That's
was
true. Yeah.
a self-imposed fallen Jedi, like she
Yeah.
chose to walk away from the Order. But I thought all of the lightsaber duels in this episode were great. Everyone we got from Marrok and Ahsoka to Shin and Sabine, and then
Yeah,
Baylan
totally.
and Ahsoka, all of them are great. And I liked there was a lot of acrobatics that we
Mhm.
saw, and Ahsoka, and I could see their stunt doubles, but let's just suspend disbelief and say, yeah, that was Rosario Dawson doing kick flips and all these things. But I like the styles. My point of that is saying I like the different fighting styles that we're getting in all of these. And Merrick was really athletic, and the stunt double was playing Merrick very a lot of heavy martial arts, and so
You
I really liked his fighting style.
you could say he was very light on his feet,
Oh,
very
I want to know, what is
very
that green gas, Shaw?
very
What is
breezy.
that? We've seen that before in
Okay,
other things.
I actually have some insight on that.
Yes, yeah. Tell me about the fart.
It was it was very stinky.
What would you have
Oh my
done,
god.
Shaw, if Ahsoka just held her nose as soon as she saw that green gas? Would you have been rolling on the floor?
She's like, "What did you eat, boy?" Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh man.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, so essentially, I mean, we've seen this magic before. It's the green Night Sister magic.
Yes, yes.
But specifically, I think the consensus is based on, and I don't have the article in front of me at the moment, but the consensus is, I don't want to spend time like scrolling while we're talking, but
Right.
From what I recall from reading about it, the Marrok represents a resurrected Night Brother. Because
Okay,
they
that
have
makes
that
sense.
ability, right?
Yep.
So they can,
Right.
and that's why he's completely encased in the armor to hold that essence, which was honestly brilliant and plays very nicely into Morgan Elsbeth being involved and being
Right.
a Night Sister of Dathomir,
Yes.
or at least a descendant of a Night Sister of Dathomir. So I love that angle, and I think it makes perfect sense for the story. And I thought about, I'm like, well, okay, well that's great. And if you're going to
That
have
was
to get rid of
perfect.
somebody, have it be somebody who's technically already dead, and they're
Right.
just being reanimated for the purposes of this. So,
Right.
and that could mean that Marrok isn't gone. You know, like that could easily resurrect again if they need to.
Right.
I would prefer that his death have substance and not be something
Yes.
where he can just be recycled again and again.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was a great touch and just sort of plays into that side of things. And also, we've seen that more prevalently in the Fallen Order game. Now, I didn't
Mhm.
play that first one took all the way through, but I do know that when they first meet up with Marin, they talk a lot about that aspect of
Yes. Right.
resurrecting
Yes.
Night Brothers and things.
Mhm.
So there's
Yeah.
an I don't want to call it in canon, but there's an in
Mhm.
galaxy explanation for it
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, so that fits in perfectly, and I like that, the green color should have been my first giveaway, but I wasn't even thinking that, I was just thinking fart. That was all I was thinking when I was
Well,
watching
I
it, so
think if the color green had been a little bit brighter, it would
Mm,
have looked more like the Night Sister magic, and I think we
right.
would have bought that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit darker green, which just means extra smelly. Extra smelly. Probably had a really spicy Chipotle bowl
Yeah,
and paid the price. So
and you also brought up to me, I don't have the Lego set, but you do, and it has the minifig of, Marrok, and you showed me that even Lego didn't even care about the
no,
identity of Merrick when you took off his helmet.
it's true. It's true. Yeah, the he's just got well, I joked because they show like the putting of the pieces together, and it's got just like a black piece. And I'm not saying like the person is like a black person, but I'm saying like
Right.
it's just a pure like jet black Lego head with no facial features whatsoever. I was like, oh, so Merrick's black is what I joked with the actor. Um,
Yeah.
Nobody's even guessed that. So
So,
but yeah,
yeah.
no, but speaking of the Lego sets, I have them right next to me. I just wanted to show off the
Yeah,
box because I
yeah.
got 2 sets in the mail just a couple days ago.
And I like how just like in the show, the wings rotate
Yeah.
and it's a completely, like, original design that we haven't seen before. All the minifigs look great. That is a nice set right there. So once
There's
you
Merrick.
Yes. Shoff, do you think it will be put together by next week or by the end of this show?
Well, definitely the T6 will be done within the next, I would say probably by the next week.
Okay.
That's Ahsoka's shuttle. And
So we
then
wanna check back
the
on that next
next
week.
one, which it was really prevalent for this week's episode because
Oh
we finally got
yeah.
to see in all of its glory, if I don't mess up my headphones here,
Yeah.
the Ghost.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
That is
so
perfect.
cool. Let
Yes.
me show off the other side of it here.
Oh, yeah. These are great Lego sets.
This one's
And
big.
I
This one's
think
like almost 1,400 pieces.
Oh,
A
man.
much bigger build. The T6 is I think around 700 pieces.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay, so
600 pieces. I'm sorry.
that's gonna be great.
But yeah, oh man. And this is probably the first wave. I'm probably going to buy each one because I really want that Balin Skull Lego
Ooh.
minifig. And that's on
Yes.
the other one, which is the oh god, is it called a U-wing or something? It's like the new version of the X-wing, but I can't
Oh,
remember
okay.
the
Yeah.
official name of it.
Okay.
But that set has Balin and Shin, and I think Morgan Elsbeth is in that one too,
Nice.
and some pilots and droids and stuff. So I just love it all. I'm just eating it up. I'm hoping that there's a set they haven't announced just because of the secrecy surrounding Thrawn and Ezra. I'm hoping that there's a Thrawn Ezra set that we just
Ooh,
haven't seen yet, and that it's not going to
even
come out, or they're not going to talk about until after the show has had
yes,
its
even put
time
a
to play.
Purgle in there, show off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'd
really
love to
feel
see
like,
that.
because they do that from time to time, knowing that stuff. These Lego sets are all based on concept art sometimes, and the show can change. So there's a lot of times where a Lego set or a character might look a certain way, and then when they actually come out in the movies or whatever, they don't look that way. So I really hope there's another set they just haven't announced that will give us Thrawn, because I want Thrawn as a minifigure, and he better have this really cool uh, uh, red sunglass look,
Oh
just like
man, that would
rizzed
be
out. You know what
funny.
I'm saying? So
Yes. Yeah, so man, there's some great merchandise that's coming out in tie-in with this show. But another thing that I really liked, Shoff, about this episode was Ahsoka's force using, the way that
yeah,
she was picking up guys, and she put that guy in the blast of, or the range of the other guy, and he made him shoot the other guy. So I love the way she showed her strength in the force, because this is Anakin's Padawan. This is like, she's one of the top Jedis, even though she's
right.
not a Jedi, and so her experience level at this point in the canon and the storyline is top notch. So I like seeing her, you know, really being able to show her force using abilities. So that part was fun in the duels, in the battles. Um, One thing I didn't like, I thought that the volume at times here, you could really tell that they were not there, that they were not in a forest. Like, there was some shots with Sabine and Ahsoka where the background just didn't look quite right, and I was like, "Oh, man, if they'd only
Oh,
been there, if they only shot it in a forest." Um, it was just a couple shots. For the most
oh,
part,
okay.
I think the volume works, but there's just some times that I'm like, "Man, this if this was Andor, this is not I wouldn't be feeling this way." So,
That's
I
true.
just had a couple of those.
That's true. Yeah, when you mentioned the volume, I had to think about that. I was like, yeah, you're right. It was kind of hard to hear them talking, and then I was like, that's not what he's talking about. No, he's talking about the AR
Yes,
wall.
right. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was great.
to your point about the force powers and everything, all the lightsaber duels were excellent. What I really, really love about Balin, and whenever he fights someone, is he's got a style that is aggressive, but also sort of subtle. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't require all these extraneous movements. He doesn't do unnecessary stuff. He's not acrobatic. It's just pure power and discipline. And I love that against Ahsoka and her style, because they're very different styles.
Yes.
And normally when you see lightsaber fights, especially in like the prequels, it's very acrobatic. Everybody's
Mhm.
doing stuff. Like
Yes.
even Palpatine is doing like the twisty like drill maneuver. Like
Right.
everyone just turns into an Olympic athlete at that point.
Right.
And that kind of got a little bit obnoxious at times, especially like, and I love Yoda, don't get me wrong, but when Yoda starts doing all like the crazy jumping around and stuff, like we know that was done because first of all, it's kind of funny to see like a short little creature doing all this stuff, and you think like he's walking around with a cane, you think he's not going to be able to be that agile. So that's like the physical comedy, the sight gag of seeing that. But there's something to be said about just being very precise and very like grounded in the fighting style. So seeing Balin do that, I love watching him fight. Ray Stevenson's been killing it in this, and I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but because RIP. But
This is
um
if this is his final performance, this is a great way to go out,
yeah,
on his acting career.
I still don't quite grasp his motivation. Like
Right.
they're very
That's what I
mysterious about
yeah.
what exactly is his goal. They've sort of hinted at it, but it doesn't truly make sense other than
Mhm.
if it's related to the world between worlds.
Right.
That
And
he wants that power.
yeah. And I saw somebody said, I can't remember who it was. Somebody told me a theory that maybe he's trying to go back in time and change Order 66. Like, he's trying to use the power of the world between worlds to go back and change so the Jedi never fell.
Mm,
So that would be an interesting, way to go if they did it that way. I don't think they will, but I would definitely I want to, like you, I want to know what is his end game? What is his goal? And I also, going back to the fighting styles, I love that we haven't seen this before, really. His lightsaber, the way he holds it with two hands, the way he swings it, it's like that medieval, ancient
Yes.
broadsword, but a lightsaber. And I'm surprised it doesn't have the cross guards on it like Kylo Ren.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, he should have that because you and I both played Survivor. I was going to say Fallen Survivor, right. Jedi Survivor. And when you use the cross hilt style, I forget what that stance is called.
Yeah, I forget too.
It is very like
it's heavy.
It's heavy.
It has weight to it,
and it's very deliberate and abrupt, and it's long swings. Like you don't have the agility. You give that up in favor of power and strength, and you see that with Baylan,
which also makes sense to him. Talking about power, like he wants power, and so even in his lightsaber style, it's like he's choosing power, the more powerful strokes than the quicker hits. So all of this stuff is fascinating, and I hope we get a comic on Baylan. I hope we get some more tie-in material, because he has so far been one of the main mysteries that I want to figure out and see where he's going. But what did you think about Sabine's decision in here? They had set it up earlier in the episode when Ahsoka was like, you know, you might have to sacrifice something. You might have to give up Ezra in order to keep Thrawn from coming back. And she was clearly like, no, I'm not going to do that. I loved again, going back to Baylan and how cool he is, his force ability it seemed like he's able to be empathic, kind of like Deanna Troi in Star Trek, where he's able to sense her feelings. He's able to get her emotion and say, hey, I know what you want. I can give it to you. So little Palpatine manipulation behind the scenes there. But what did you think about Sabine's decision to give up the map?
I think it makes perfect sense for her character. I think she's motivated by one thing and one thing only, and that's to rescue Ezra, to bring him back. And nothing's going to stand in her way in that regard. There were plenty of theories out there talking about Sabine's going to turn to the dark side. She's gonna be a dark. I don't think it's going to go that far, but I think she's definitely siding with the enemy because they have a common goal. And that's one great thing about Ezra and Thrawn, is that their fates are intertwined. So it creates a very like complicated decision for when you are looking to rescue Ezra. You, in doing so, are also putting yourself at risk because Thrawn is in the mix of all of that, or at least we assume still is in some capacity. So very cool. I think it makes perfect sense for her. I really think it couldn't have gone any other way. And it also puts a man on the inside from the standpoint of like perspective. Like now we have Sabine witnessing what's going down in that B storyline of being on the Eye of Sion and where that's going, and what are they going to do once they get to this other galaxy and stuff. So
yeah, man, I can't wait. All of this stuff, Shav, is leading to episode 5. And can we get to it? There's some nice stuff with Hera and the ghost ship coming to try to save everybody, and then they got Holdo maneuvered, and got
yes, they did,
pushed out of the way. But the reveal of that Ahsoka survived, first of all, with her duel with Baylan, and that she's in the world between worlds. That's number one. Number 2, we hear "Hello, Snips," and we see Hayden Christensen in an episode 3 era Anakin.
Yeah.
So that number 1, were you surprised? Like, we had been hearing rumors and things. Were you surprised when you saw that?
I was more surprised that we saw her wake up in the world between worlds than I was surprised that Anakin showed up. I've been watching on TikTok. I mean, if you haven't seen this episode yet, I feel bad for you because you're going to get spoiled if you're on social media. People are very blatantly
immediately
yeah, immediately are sharing their reactions. So like they're recording their reactions to the moments, which is great to watch if you've already seen it. But if you haven't, I mean, you're totally ruined for this reveal.
Yeah.
So I feel for anybody who's been spoiled on this surprise. But then again, there's been a lot of news surrounding Hayden Christensen being involved with this show. So I fully expected him to show up. I just thought it wasn't going to. I thought it was going to be more in a Darth Vader capacity or some kind of like flashback or something like that. So this is different than all of that because in the world between worlds, there is no time.
Right. Well, also, I think that possibility of him playing Darth Vader is still there, and I think they might play with it in the world between worlds of maybe even like an angel and devil on your shoulder, like
Mm,
Anakin's there, but Darth Vader's there also. So maybe I think there's still a possibility that he could play that. But like you, I was thinking it was going to be all flashback. I didn't know it would involve the world between worlds. So I'm very curious to see where this goes in episode 5. And like we said, like I was hinting at a little bit, everything seems to be centering on episode 5 in this show. I've heard it's got the longest run time. I've we now we can confirm Hayden Christensen is going to be in episode 5. There's no way they're going to leave it off on that cliffhanger and then he's not in the next episode. So he's going to be in it. There's going to be some great stuff in the world between worlds. But also now I just found out right before we started recording this, they're doing screenings in certain theaters across the country where you can watch episode 5 on the big screen. And I was
wow.
very upset to learn that they are not doing it here in my area. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so that is very disappointing to me.
That makes no sense because Phoenix is a huge city, probably one of the biggest cities in the nation, and to not have anything. And I'm near Seattle, and we did a zip code search on where I live, which is just outside of Seattle, and there wasn't anything. Now I don't know necessarily how far out on the mileage it was going based on that zip code. I could throw in like a Seattle one, and I would assume there'd be something. But man, wherever they're doing this it's got. I would imagine it's probably like New York, California, like just like
I
major
wonder,
hubs.
yeah, and I wonder how much was tied to because we just found out about this, right? How much was tied to them trying to keep it a secret? Hey, because let's say if they had announced this at the beginning, oh, we know episode 5 is going to be huge. If they're doing it in theaters, there's going to be some huge stuff that happens in episode 5. But I think them wanting to hold it until this last bit of episode 4, maybe that ties into they couldn't put together the logistics of doing a wide rollout. I don't know exactly, but needless to say, I was disappointed when I saw that my town didn't have that because I want to see it on the biggest screen
Yeah.
possible. I got a chance to go to an Andor screening a couple months ago of the prison arc on Andor, just
So
those
great.
3 episodes, and that was a fantastic experience. It was at the Disney lot, and it was like their own private screening room, and Andy Serkis was there doing Q&A, so it was a great experience, but seeing Star Wars on the big screen is where it's meant to happen, Shaw. So I definitely am excited for part 5 of the series. We don't have a name yet for part 5, but like I said, we know Dave Filoni is directing. This is the last episode he's directing of the season. And you know that he wanted to put his Filoni on it and say, okay, this is
Oh
this is
yeah.
the episode. So
We're
I'm
gonna we're
very
gonna get
much
a very juicy Filoni sandwich next week, no
a
doubt,
hundred
no doubt.
percent.
Factor, I had a few notes from
Yes,
just
yeah.
other parts
Tell
of
me,
the
Shaw.
episode. Can I throw them out there real
Yes.
quickly? So the Hu Yang sort of
Mhm.
like droid fight at the beginning, that was great.
Oh,
That was like
yes,
that
yes.
was very like
Yes, that
Rock'em
was
Sock'em
yes.
Robots is what what I kind of like compared it
And
to.
the thing I liked about that was at first I was like, "Oh no, Hu Yang is like just a frail teacher. He's gonna get destroyed by this droid."
Yeah.
And then I remembered, oh yeah, he was training Sabine in how to do the
Hmm.
lightsaber fights earlier. So yeah, he's got some training knowledge in his head. So that was cool when they were going back and forth. I
Yeah.
like that.
I was a little worried though because even though he survived that first battle, I thought once Ahsoka and Sabine left him on at the shuttle, I thought there was going to be some kind of ambush, like Shin Hati or Marrok were going to show up and make quick work of him. And I'm like, the way he was telling them, you guys need to stay together. That was kind of like one of those lines that you hear from
Yep.
somebody who's about to get killed off
Right.
the show.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, they saved him only to kill him later in the episode, but thankfully that did not happen. So
And he's
we're good there.
25,000 years old. It's like, if
Yeah.
he goes, this is an antique. This is not like, all right,
Right.
we put him together last week. This guy has seen some things. So yeah, I
It's
definitely
true. It's
want to
true.
see him
So yeah, so
last.
knowing that, it's like, oh, what a loss if it happens. The whole Cetos planet, like that whole vibe is so great. It reminds me a lot of the Kurosawa movies because
Yes.
there's the aspect of color is reduced. You're only seeing like red leaves, which is very symbolic. The leaves are falling, which is very that noir style. And then you've got people who are doing sword fighting in a sense, like using sabers just like a samurai would.
Yes.
And this the style, everything was like very much reminded me of that samurai movie style, which is so great. Love seeing the ghost, like I said. The 4 X-Wing escort that she had as they were I was like, that's beautiful. And then we have Carson, who crossover from the Mando show. He's one of the X-Wing pilots, probably I think the only one that survived that whole situation.
Yes.
And then what did I say here? So Jason Sindula. I don't like, it's hard to hate a kid, right? You can't hate a kid. And I don't have any issues with him, but I do think that his line of dialogue after everything went down with like the X-Wings literally exploding due to the Holdo maneuver, as you said, he just says, "Mom, I got a bad feeling." He delivered it like he had pooped his pants. Like he's like, "Mom, I did a doo-doo in my diaper." Like it was cringe. It was pure cringe. And I'm kind of over this thing where Star Wars properties feel the need to use and rehash lines of dialogue that are commonplace. Like, I've got a bad feeling about this. Yes, every freaking Star Wars thing, TV show, movie, incorporates it in some form or fashion. Do we need it at this point? Is it overdone? I think it's overdone. I'm over this. I've got a bad feeling about this. We get it. We're watching Star Wars. Okay? Can we stop with that? That's all I got to say about that.
It's like poetry, Shaw.
Yeah. And then the only thing I wanted to mention is it's about time Hayden Christensen is getting some love, because this poor man suffered for years after his portrayal of Anakin Skywalker in Attack the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And his performance was critically panned. People did not like him. It got enough hate where he kind of disappeared from the public eye. Like he wasn't even acting. And he's back now. And since his appearance in Kenobi and now going forward into Ahsoka, he's finally getting some respect.
Yeah. And he
Just
was at Star Wars Celebration and got a huge ovation.
Exactly. And like Ahmed Best, Jar Jar finally getting some appreciation, or at least the actor portraying him. Like, it's about time things have come full circle and we can finally just love up on all these people who have been made such an important like impression on our fandoms and our lives. Like, so thank you, Hayden Christensen. I'm glad you're finally getting some positive praise, because you deserve it and you earn it. And a lot of people are crying, witnessing you reappearing for the first time in front of Ahsoka. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Shuff. I really like this Hayden Christianisance, this renaissance of Christensen that we've seen. Christianisance. It's been fantastic to witness, and also just to see his reaction to the fan love that he's getting, because it feels like, he's used to getting dumped on. He was used to people say, "Oh, Anakin, mannequin Skywalker ruining the trilogy," and this is like, okay, now he's finally getting to see that, hey, you did have you brought some joy to people's lives. So I'm liking all of the appearances I'm seeing of him at different Comic Cons and seeing people's pictures that they're posting of them and him together, and he's smiling. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Agreed.
Man, I can't wait, Shaw, for part 5. Ooh wee! And you got her doing the correct lightsaber
Oh yeah,
pose. I like that.
when I
Yes.
display accurately. It's screen
Yeah.
accurate. Screen accurate.
I love it. Excellent, Shaw. So we are through with part 4, Fallen Jedi. I think our favorite episode so far. Part 5, you got a lot to live up to, as you need to be the new top. You need to be the new best in this Ahsoka series. But we'd like to thank everyone for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, we're going to be back each and every week talking more Ahsoka abridged, as it were, talking about the new current Disney Plus Star Wars show, Ahsoka. So
Yes.
thank you very much. Leave a comment down below if you're so inclined. If you have some questions, or if you had something about the episode that you liked that we didn't talk about, or that you hated and we didn't talk about, let us know in the comments down below, and we'll talk about it next week here in the Vactor-Verse.
May the force be with you.